Welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and I'm a creative inspiration coach who helps writers reignite their creative sparks. This podcast is here to help you knock down any barriers that stand between you and your dreams. You can do it. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. This is podcast number 31, New. What does the word new mean to you? Does it mean fresh, neat, novel? Does it mean something you haven't seen before? Or does the word new have a different connotation for you? Does new mean strange or even scary? Here at the beginning of 2018, as I'm recording this, it's the end of 2017, and we're about to embark on our new year, 2018. So I'd like you to consider not only what the word new means to you on an instinctual gut level, but also what it might mean to your future. Are you happy with the way your life is right now? If so, fantastic. Enjoy it. But if you're like many people out there, you may have something about your life that you'd like to change. If you're someone who is less than happy, but who isn't a huge fan of change, please listen. In most instances, new equals change. And yes, I know that sounds frightening, and change can be frightening. But it can also be incredibly rewarding, almost because of the fact that it can be scary and frightening, makes it rewarding. Look back at the times in your life where you had to do something difficult, something you might not have enjoyed, but something you still did and completed successfully. So maybe it was your college degree. Maybe it was a certain class. Maybe it was overcoming some difficult situation. Whatever it was, typically at the time that we go through something that we would classify as negative, we're in the muck, we're in the shit, to be quite frank. So when you're down in it, down in the trenches and dealing with the situation as it comes to you, sometimes it's very, very difficult. But often if we succeed at the end, no matter how much we went through and how much we might have even suffered, at the end though, a lot of the time we can look back and see the benefits. Now, maybe not right after, because sometimes something was so bad that it was almost traumatic and it's hard to see any kind of benefit coming from that. But inevitably, when we go through something difficult, we go through a change, it comes with blessings. And sometimes we can't see those blessings until time has passed. But if you look back at something that happened to you when you were younger that was difficult to get through, and the kind of person that it made you into now, for instance, that's an example of what I'm talking about. That it's almost like the old story of the crucible, burning away all the excess down to your molten core, and the hardest part of you, the strongest part of you survives. And sometimes that's what happens as we go through a very trying experience, but we come out the other side stronger and better and wiser not to encourage bad things or what we consider bad things. We don't want them to happen. But sometimes because they happen, they make us into who we become. They make us into who we are. So when I look back at my life and I see a difficult time or a difficult period of my life, in almost every example of that now that I look back on, especially if some time has passed and I can look at it without feeling emotional about it now, if I can put some distance between me and my emotion of what I've experienced at the time, it's amazing how I can always be grateful for it. Even if it felt very negative at the time, it turned me into the person that I am now becoming. And it made me stronger. So if you're in the middle of the shit, one, I am sorry. And know that you have my support and the support of God, the universe, source, higher power is always at your back. But two, know that it will pass, and know that you are strong enough to get through this, whatever this may be. You are strong enough. You are, as I've said many times, an eternal spiritual being. And you know no limits in that form in particular. So just remember, whatever your human life is going through at the moment, whatever's happening to you in your humanity in this moment in time, it will pass. You are a spiritual being. You are eternal. You are so strong, and you can get through it. So please know that, and have faith that you will come out the other side. So, on the more positive side of things, we tend to shy away from new experiences and change sometimes because it frightens us. But here's the thing. It also helps us to grow. And if you're willing to put yourself out there, so let's say nothing bad is happening to you right now. Let's say that's not you. If it is, then that's one thing. But let's say that's not you. Let's say that's not your issue at the moment. At the moment, it's just that you're nervous about trying out a new endeavor. So if that's you, if you're willing to try, if you're willing to put yourself out there, if you're willing to take a risk, if you're willing to take a chance on yourself, on your own abilities, then, and here's the cool part, your future is boundless. Your future is limitless on what you can do, because you're allowing yourself to let go of any limits there might be and not let them stop you. Now, does that mean you can fly through the air like Superman? I wish. That'd be really awesome. But what that means is on a certain plane, on what is actually physically possible in this human body and with this human mind and brain of ours, you have so much potential. And you can use that potential to become that wonderful, huge entity that you want to be if you want to grow and experience the amazing part of who you really are. And it may seem radical. It may seem like a radical notion to take a bet on yourself. Maybe that's not something you've ever done. It may seem completely crazy to believe in yourself that completely. But if you start moving in that direction, if you start trusting yourself, believing in yourself, life can become amazing for you. You can live your wildest dreams. You can overcome any obstacle. You can do anything and everything you set your heart on. So I used to believe, personally, that people who wrote books had some magical talent that I didn't. Because I was always a book reader. I loved books my whole life. Always have, always will. And at 33, I fell in love with the Harry Potter series. And it was in the middle of J.K. Rowling's series, was where I was, that I decided to try my hand at writing. And it was only because she hadn't written the next book. I think at the time she had written the first 4 books. Goblet of Fire she had completed, and I had read that. Multiple times I read those first 4 books over and over. And what ended up happening is, or no, it was the 5th book, Order of Phoenix, the 5th book. I had read those first 5 books over and over and over and over. And she had left it in such a bad place for the first character. I was just so worried about him as a character. He felt so real to me, I remember at that time, that I just wanted to give him a happy life because he'd had such, Harry Potter had such a terrible life in the first 5 books. And so what I did is I wrote what we call fan fiction. So I tried to write, I had to see that Harry was going to be okay. And so I sat down and I just started handwriting in a stenography pad, the kind that you flip over the top. It's got the circular rings at the top, and I would just flip it and keep writing and keep writing. And it was handwriting, pen and paper. And I was writing and writing and writing, and my husband saw that I was writing, and he said, What are you doing? And I told him, I said, I just have to know that Harry's going to be okay, so I'm writing it. And he wanted to read it, and so he did. And he said, you should really do this. And so I did what a whole bunch of people have done, usually younger than me though, and wrote a Harry Potter fan fiction just for fun. And the funny thing was, though, is that I'd never tried writing fiction before then, and I was 33 years old at the time. And I ended up with a 42,000 word, 18 chapter story. And what it did was it hooked me into writing. It showed me the beautiful things that you can create in a world that you make on your own. And I considered that was not too bad for someone who'd never tried to write fiction before, writing all that. That's when I fell in love with the written word as a writer instead of just a reader. So I was 33 before that ever happened. A lot of writers have been writing ever since they can remember. A lot of people, like J.K. Rowling herself, was like that. She wrote books since she was 6. So there's a lot of writers who are like that. I was not like that. I had never tried to really sit down and write a story before. But once I did, oh my goodness, that was it. It was over. I was a writer from then on. So don't limit yourself in your dreams. If you don't know what it is that you love and what would hook you like that hooked me, like writing hooked me, that's okay. No matter how old you are. I don't care if you're 88 listening to this. You can totally still find your dream and your passion and go for it. So don't let age or what you've been doing in your life so far or what you have or haven't seen or whatever in the world, that doesn't matter. You can always go after it. You can always go after it. But on the other side of the table, don't waste time. So if you do know what it is, go after it. Because life is short and we never know how short. So if you do know what your dream is and your passion is, I say take it with both hands and grab onto it. And if you don't know, you can totally find out. So check that out. If you want, I have a little freebie that I love to give to my email subscribers that is called the Defining Your Dreams cheat sheet, little worksheet that kind of boils down what your passions might be and the best questions to ask yourself if you're trying to figure that out for yourself and you don't know. So if you want that, just throw a comment on my blog or on basically the little podcast, either one, and I will throw that to you. I'd be happy to do that. So check that out. But what the law of attraction and the teachings of Abraham in particular taught me was that I could be the creator not only of fictional worlds whenever I fell into that writing world, but also of my own world. So, I found out that I could write and create all these magical fictional worlds myself in my writing. But when I discovered the law of attraction a few years later and Abraham Hicks's teachings, that I could be the creator of my own world, and that in fact I already was. We all are. We are all co-creators in this world, in this human form we have. And our thoughts really do create our reality. So when you realize that and you really take that to heart and you really understand what that means, you can start to manipulate that. You can start to change what's going on in your life. And if you want something new and you want something better for yourself, then that is the way to get it for real. So, for example, our beliefs shape our reality, and a belief is just a thought that we've thought over and over and over again. So, I used to believe that I was a fat chick with bad genes. I really did. I thought, I'm just a fat chick with bad genes and a slow metabolism and I can't lose weight. That's just the way it is. Yeah. That was total bullshit, by the way. Just saying. There was no truth to that whatsoever. And what's really funny is that truth is, in this case at least, is a little subjective. I mean, there's the truth, there's the facts that you can prove in a court of law and bring evidence and show things and prove things without a shadow of a doubt type of situation. But when it comes to our minds and our brains and our thoughts and our feelings, it's a little less concrete. But what you believe becomes your truth. So by believing that I was a fat chick with slow metabolism and all that, I was condemning myself to a obese body. But now I know better. So I changed my belief system. I changed what I was thinking about my body and about my health. So I changed my body. I reduced my weight significantly. And the way I did it was I decided I could. And is there more to it than that? Yes. There's more to change than just believing something on an intellectual basis. That's the beginning. But you actually have to really, really believe it in your heart, in your gut, before it actually takes root. But I decided that I wanted to believe it, and I started to work on that. And I wanted to believe that I could do it. And I decided I was worth that, which is another big change, another big something new. I decided I wanted a healthy, beautiful body more than I wanted junk food. And though it takes time and patience and commitment, I've made it happen. And if I can do it, you can too. And a new year is a time for resolutions, as we all know. But this year I challenge you to not only make a resolution, but to follow through with it. How many of us will say that we'll stop or start doing something in January? A whole bunch of us will. A lot of people will get out there and say, yeah, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to quit smoking, or I'm going to quit drinking, or I'm going to quit drinking so much, or I'm never going to have a hangover again, or I'm going to quit working so hard, or I'm going to work harder, or whatever, right? But some people don't even try to make resolutions because they know they're not going to keep them. They're never going to keep them, so they don't even bother with them anymore. And if that's where you are, I understand. So let me challenge you to do this. Instead of making an empty resolution that you know already that you're not going to keep, I would like you to make a promise to yourself that you know you will keep. That one, you can keep it. That it's realistic for you. And two, that it's something you want. Really, really do want. So come up with something totally doable but new for you. A positive change. And I suggest following my mentor and coach Betsy Pake's advice and take a small step rather than a giant leap, because it's way more possible that you'll succeed by doing that small step first. In fact, you can always do small steps. You can always just do little baby steps. As long as you're going in the right direction, you'll get to where you're going eventually, right? And make sure you enjoy the journey along the way. But let's say, instead of saying you want to cure your bad temper, let's say you have anger management issues, for example, especially when you get behind the wheel of a vehicle. That happens to a lot of us. We might be perfectly reasonable, nice people any other time, but when we get behind that, when we get in a car and everybody drives like a moron, we think, it drives us crazy and we lose our shit. So if you want to be less temperamental behind the wheel, let's say, well, let's just say you're going to work on it. So you say you're just not going to get upset at traffic today. All day, you're not going to get upset. Or you can focus on tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm not going to get upset in traffic. I don't care what happens. I'm not going to get upset. Okay? Let's say that's the promise. Just one day, right? Just one day. Okay, so that's your resolution. Baby steps, right? If you fail at this, it's okay. All right? Don't beat yourself up. Just take a deep breath. Tell yourself you can do it. And try it again. Doing something new and changing in a more permanent way is all about allowing yourself to mess up. It really is okay to mess up. It really is. So just don't freak out over it. Don't psych yourself up and go, I'm going to do this, and then fail and then beat the crap out of yourself for it and berate yourself for hours and make yourself feel horrible. Don't do that. If you fail, okay, well, all right, I screwed up today. It was a bad day anyway. I'm not going to worry about it. Moving on, right? I saw this great meme one time, I think on Facebook or Pinterest, that said, next time something really bad happens, just scream, plot twist, and move on, right? That's actually a great idea, because we all have that. We all fail. And it's not a big deal. Failing is part of success. And everybody who's successful will tell you that. So don't let it freak you out. Hug yourself. For real. Like, actually wrap your arms around yourself. And tell yourself it's all right. And focus on making the kind of decisions that will move you in a more positive direction. Okay? And do something for a day. Just focus on that little moment. Because really, doing something for a day is actually pretty easy most of the time. So see if you can. Challenge yourself to do it for a whole day. And then stretch it into a week. Promise yourself that you can do it. That you're worth it. That God and the universe is supporting you in this change, because it is. You're not ever alone in your journey. Never, ever, ever. And this might help too. Imagine thousands of people or angels or whatever works for you cheering you on, right? Maybe you're a sports fan and you imagine crowds of people cheering for you. Or you're a musician and you imagine crowds cheering for you. Imagine that, if that helps. Do that. Or imagine receiving thousands of words of encouragement, thousands of prayers and well wishes, all for you to succeed. It's hard to fail whenever you've got that at your back, right? Imagine receiving thousands of hugs. And don't forget to hug yourself again. Love yourself enough to see yourself succeed. And soon your temper behind the wheel will have improved, or you'll weigh less, or you'll leave those cigarettes or whatever else you want to quit permanently behind, or your relationships will get better, or that thing you keep worrying about will cease to be an issue at all, or all the above. The important thing is you'll be more of the person you want to be. And all of that good energy will have wonderful repercussions in the other areas of your life. Good has a way of multiplying and stretching its tendrils over everything like a vast umbrella, protecting you. It's great. It's pretty awesome, actually. So let new and better things come into your life. God in the universe is constantly working to bring newness and more happiness to you. This world was created for you. For you. So don't block those good things. And maybe you're saying, Jeannie, I don't know. I'm blocking it, but I don't know how to not block it. This is how. Relax. Breathe. Trust. And love. Look for the best things in the world and focus on them exclusively. Concentrate on them with all of your strength, all the good things, all the good things. So love fiercely, laugh loudly, give freely. Believe you are worth it with all of your heart. Because you have so much value. You sure do. You have so much beauty inside of you. So let it out. Let everyone see what God and the universe already know. That you are amazing. That you are capable of greatness. That you can do anything you really want to do. That you are a miracle. And that you are a badass. It's so cool how all those new scary things we once fear become absolutely possible to do after you start believing in yourself. So before I wrap up this podcast, one, I'd like to wish you the very best of New Year's for 2018. But I also want to share today, as I record this podcast, I have had one hell of a day personally and on a professional level, and not in a good day, not a good day at all. And so what I did was, as I was going home after an extremely long day, I sent my husband a text, who was working late. And I sent him a text, and what I texted him was, I sent him, please remind me of the good things in this world. Because I was not in a good place. And what he sent me back, I didn't even get it until I was already talking to him on the phone, because for some reason the text was delayed. I'm not sure why. And so I didn't even see it until after I had ranted about my day to him during his lunch hour. But once I hung up the phone with him, I saw the text, and I saw his response to, please remind me of all the good things in the world, which is what I texted. His response was, you. And it made me get teary-eyed, because he believes in me. And sometimes we need other people to believe in us. So just hear this. There are lots of other people who believe in you. And I am one of them. And I know there's lots of people who believe in me. And whether it's angels and spiritual beings, or whether it's human beings, or whether it's just the support of people who pray for the world, or send good wishes and good vibes out to the world, or think peaceful, relaxing thoughts, send that to the world. and to anyone who needs it. Sometimes they just send out good thoughts. People do that all the time. So just know that you're being supported by the other spiritual beings on this planet. And you're being supported by God and the universe, source, the higher power, whatever you call it. You are constantly supported. So when the going gets tough, like it got for me today, just remember that you have all the love and support in the world at your back. All right, everybody, have a great day, week, month, and year 2018. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I appreciate every download and every person who has subscribed. I release new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you enjoy this content, please consider leaving a review. The more reviews fledgling shows like mine receive, the more visible it becomes on the various podcast stations. Each review helps, so if you enjoy what I've been sharing, please help others find this show by leaving a brief review. Thanks again for listening.